The morning mist hung low over the forest clearing when the Zilithian transport ship descended from the cloudy sky. Its silver hull gleamed briefly in the pale sunlight before settling on the soft earth with barely a whisper. The ship's occupants moved with purpose, but their actions carried the weight of a terrible decision. Elder Vorthak stepped out first, his scaled hide shimmering blue-green in the filtered light. Behind him came 3 other adults of his species, each one avoiding eye contact with the small bundle carried between them. The bundle moved weakly, letting out soft whimpers that echoed strangely in the quiet forest. "The decision is made," Vorthak announced, his voice carrying the authority of countless years. "Kestra's injury is beyond our healing abilities. The bone is shattered in too many places. She will never fly, never hunt, never contribute to our clan. It is better this way." The young dragon they called Kestra was barely larger than a house cat, her once bright silver scales now dulled with pain and fever. Her left hind leg bent at an unnatural angle, the bone clearly broken in multiple places. Purple blood had dried around the wound where jagged metal from their ship's crash had torn through her delicate hide. "But she is so young," whispered Thala, the youngest of the group. "Perhaps if we—" "No." Vorthak's mental voice cut through her thoughts like a blade. "We cannot waste resources on one who will never thrive. This is the way of our people. The strong survive, the weak are returned to the elements. It has always been so." They placed Kestra gently on a bed of fallen leaves beneath an ancient oak tree. The little dragon's eyes opened briefly, looking up at the beings who had raised her from an egg. She tried to chirp, a sound that would have been beautiful if not for the pain that laced through it. "Forgive us, little one," Thala whispered, touching Kestra's head with one clawed finger. "May the wind carry you swiftly to the eternal flight." Within minutes, the Zilithians had returned to their ship. The transport lifted silently into the sky, disappearing beyond the cloud cover. They had to return to their homeworld to report the mission's failure. A crashed scouting vessel and an injured youngling were acceptable losses in their culture's harsh calculus of survival. Kestra lay motionless for a long time after they left. The forest sounds gradually returned, birds calling from the treetops, insects buzzing through the undergrowth, small creatures rustling through the leaves. But the little dragon remained still, breathing slowly and shallowly. Her body was giving up just as her people had predicted. The sun climbed higher, warming the forest floor. Somewhere in the distance, a different kind of sound emerged, the laughter of a human child. 8-year-old Emma Chen had wandered farther from her family's camping site than she was supposed to, following a butterfly that seemed to dance just beyond her reach. Her parents thought she was playing near their tent, but Emma had always been curious about the deeper parts of the forest. She pushed through a thicket of bushes and stumbled into the clearing where Kestra lay. At first, Emma thought she had found an injured cat, but as she moved closer, her eyes widened with wonder and concern. This was definitely not a cat. The creature was covered in scales that caught the light like tiny mirrors. It had delicate wings folded against its back, though one appeared torn. Its head was elegant and elongated, with small horns just beginning to emerge. Most alarming was the clearly broken leg and the strange purple stains around the wound. Emma had always been drawn to hurt animals. Last spring, she had nursed a baby bird back to health after it fell from its nest. Her parents often joked that she would become a veterinarian when she grew up. But this was unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Oh no," she whispered, kneeling beside the small dragon. "What happened to you?" Kestra's eyes fluttered open at the sound of Emma's voice. For a moment, both girl and dragon stared at each other in mutual amazement. Kestra had never seen a human before, but something in Emma's brown eyes spoke of kindness rather than threat. Emma had never seen anything like Kestra, but her heart immediately recognized a creature in desperate need of help. "It's okay," Emma said softly, extending her hand slowly. "I won't hurt you. I want to help." Kestra tried to lift her head but was too weak. A soft sound escaped her throat, part whimper, part chirp. Emma's heart broke at the obvious pain in that small voice. Emma carefully examined the injured leg without touching it. She had learned from helping the baby bird that moving injured animals could make things worse. The break looked terrible, with bone clearly visible through the torn scales. The purple blood had stopped flowing, but the wound needed cleaning and care. "I need to get help," Emma told Kestra, as if the little dragon could understand. "My dad knows about first aid, and there's a ranger station not far from our campsite. But I can't leave you here alone." What if other animals find you? Kestra's eyes tracked Emma's movements as the girl looked around the clearing. Emma's mind raced with possibilities. She could run back to get her parents, but that would take time. And the little dragon looked so weak. She could try to carry the creature, but what if she made the injury worse? Finally, Emma made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She carefully removed her favorite hoodie, a bright purple one with a unicorn on the front, and began to fashion a makeshift sling. Her grandmother had taught her basic first aid during summer visits, including how to stabilize injured limbs. This might hurt a little, she warned Kestra, but it will help keep your legs still. As Emma worked, speaking in soothing tones and moving with surprising gentleness for a child, Kestra felt something she had never experienced before. Not just kindness, but determination. This strange being with no scales, no wings, and no claws was risking her own safety to help someone she had never met. It was the opposite of everything Kestra had been taught about survival. For the first time since her injury, Kestra felt a tiny spark of hope flicker in her chest. Emma worked carefully to stabilize Kestra's broken leg using the sleeves of her hoodie as gentle restraints. The little dragon watched every movement with large, intelligent eyes that seemed to glow with an inner light. Despite her fear and pain, Kestra remained remarkably still, as if she understood that Emma was trying to help. "There," Emma said softly when she finished. "That should keep it from moving around and getting worse." Kestra made a soft trilling sound that might have been gratitude. Emma smiled at the noise, feeling encouraged. She had seen enough nature documentaries to know that animals often communicated in ways humans couldn't understand, but emotions were often universal. The next challenge was water. Emma had noticed that Kestra's breathing was shallow and rapid, signs of dehydration that she recognized from caring for the injured bird. She also needed to clean the wound before infection set in. Her water bottle was back at the campsite, but there was a small stream about 50 yards away that she had crossed earlier while chasing the butterfly. "I'll be right back," Emma promised, holding up her finger in a gesture she hoped conveyed, "Wait. I'm getting water." She ran to the stream and filled her cupped hands, then hurried back. But by the time she reached Kestra, most of the water had leaked through her fingers. The little dragon looked at her with what might have been amusement, making a sound that was surprisingly like a chuckle. "Okay, that didn't work," Emma admitted. She looked around the clearing and spotted several large leaves from the oak tree. Her grandmother had shown her how indigenous people used to carry water in folded leaves. It took several attempts, but Emma managed to create a makeshift leaf cup that held enough water. Kestra drank gratefully, using a small forked tongue to lap up the precious liquid. Emma made 3 more trips to the stream, each time bringing back water in her improvised containers. She could see Kestra's condition improving slightly with each drink. Next came the challenge of food. Emma had packed animal crackers for her nature walk, but she suspected that a creature with small sharp teeth like Kestra's was probably carnivorous. She tried offering a cracker anyway, holding it near the dragon's mouth. Kestra sniffed it politely but turned her head away. "Not your thing, huh?" Emma said. "I wonder what you eat." As if in response to her question, a small rabbit darted across the clearing. Kestra's head turned to track its movement with predatory intensity, confirming Emma's suspicion about the dragon's diet. But catching prey was clearly impossible with the injured leg. Emma sat cross-legged beside Kestra, thinking hard. She knew from camping trips that there were fish in the stream, and her father had taught her basic fishing techniques, but she didn't have any equipment with her. Then she remembered something her grandfather had shown her during a visit to his farm: how to catch small fish with just your hands. "I'll try to catch you something," Emma told Kestra. "I'm not very good at it, but I'll try." She returned to the stream and spent the better part of an hour attempting to catch fish with her bare hands. It was much harder than her grandfather had made it look. She got soaked, slipped on wet rocks, and managed to catch exactly nothing. But she didn't give up. Finally, she had a different idea. Using a large flat stone and some patience, she managed to trap a small fish in a shallow pool. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. She carefully carried the fish back to Kestra, who looked at Emma with what could only be described as amazement. Kestra ate the fish quickly, making small sounds of satisfaction. For the first time since Emma had found her, the little dragon's tail moved slightly, a weak attempt at wagging that reminded Emma of a puppy. As the afternoon wore on, Emma began to worry about her parents. They would be looking for her soon, and she still hadn't figured out how to get help for Kestra. The dragon was clearly from somewhere else. Nowhere on Earth were there creatures like this. But Emma didn't care where Kestra came from. All she cared about was that her new friend was hurt and alone. Emma tried to communicate more directly with Kestra, pointing to herself and saying, "Emma," repeatedly. Kestra watched intently, then made a musical sound that might have been an attempt to mimic the name. Emma was thrilled. Then she pointed to Kestra questioningly. The little dragon tilted her head, considering, then made a series of sounds. Kestra. The pronunciation was different from how her own people said it, but Emma understood. Kestra, Emma repeated, and the dragon's eyes brightened with pleasure at being understood. They were making progress, but communication remained limited. Emma tried to explain that she needed to go get help, acting out leaving and returning. Kestra seemed to understand but looked frightened at the prospect of being left alone again. "I promise I'll come back," Emma said, touching her heart and then pointing to Kestra. "I won't leave you like the others did." Something in Emma's tone must have conveyed her sincerity because Kestra relaxed slightly. She made a soft sound and touched Emma's hand with the tip of her wing. The membrane was incredibly soft, like warm silk. Just then, Emma heard her name being called in the distance. Her parents had discovered she was missing and were searching for her. Emma's heart raced. She needed to get help for Kestra, but she also didn't want to get in trouble for wandering off. "Emma. Emma, where are you?" Her father's voice was getting closer. Emma made a quick decision. She gathered soft moss and leaves to make Kestra as comfortable as possible, then carefully moved her to a spot where she would be hidden from casual observation, but still protected from weather. "I have to go get my parents," Emma whispered urgently. "They'll know what to do. I'll bring them back, I promise." Kestra watched Emma leave with sad but trusting eyes. In the short time they had spent together, something remarkable had happened. Despite coming from different worlds and speaking different languages, they had formed a connection based on the simplest and most powerful force in the universe: compassion. Emma ran toward her father's voice, her mind already working on how to explain what she had found. She knew her parents might not believe her at first, but she also knew they would help once they saw Kestra for themselves. Her father was a doctor and her mother was a biologist. If anyone could figure out how to help an injured alien dragon, it would be them. As she crashed through the underbrush toward her family, Emma felt a determination burning in her chest that surprised her with its intensity. She had made a promise to Kestra, and she would keep it no matter what. The little dragon had been abandoned once already. Emma would make sure it never happened again. Emma burst through the trees and nearly collided with her father, Dr. Michael Chen, who had been searching frantically for the past hour. Relief flooded his face when he saw her, quickly followed by concern and a touch of anger. "Emma, thank God you're safe. We've been looking everywhere for you. You know better than to wander off alone like that." His medical training kicked in automatically as he looked her over for injuries.
"Are you hurt?"
"You're soaking wet." "Dad, I'm fine, but I found something amazing and terrible at the same time," Emma said breathlessly. "There's a baby dragon in the forest and she's hurt really badly. We have to help her." Dr. Chen's expression softened from relief to patient concern. His daughter had always had an active imagination, especially when it came to animals. "Sweetie, I know you love animals, but there are no dragons. Maybe you found an injured bird or—" "No, Dad, really." Emma grabbed his hand and started pulling him back toward the clearing. "I know how it sounds, but you have to see her. She has scales and wings and she talks, sort of. Her leg is broken in like 10 pieces and she's lost a lot of blood. It's purple blood, Dad." Dr. Chen exchanged a glance with his wife, Dr. Sarah Chen, who had just arrived with Park Ranger Tom Fletcher. Sarah was a biology professor at the local university, specializing in wildlife behavior. Both parents were accustomed to Emma's enthusiastic reports about animal encounters, but something in their daughter's tone was different this time. "Purple blood?" Sarah asked. Her scientific curiosity piqued despite her skepticism. "Emma, honey, mammal blood is red because of iron-based hemoglobin. Some creatures like horseshoe crabs have blue blood because they use copper-based hemocyanin, but purple—" "I know what I saw, Mom," Emma interrupted. "And I know how crazy it sounds, but please just come look. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but what if I'm right and she dies because we didn't help?" The ranger, who had been listening with growing concern, spoke up. Dr. Chen, there have been some unusual reports in this area over the past few days. Campers talking about strange lights in the sky, unusual sounds. We've been investigating the possibility of illegal aircraft or maybe military testing. Emma's eyes lit up. See? I bet that's how she got here. Please, Dad, you're a doctor. Even if you don't believe me about the dragon part, won't you at least look at an injured animal? Dr. Chen sighed, but Emma's earnestness was wearing down his skepticism. All right, sweetheart. Show us what you found. But if this is just an injured raccoon or something, we're having a serious talk about safety and staying close to camp. Emma led the three adults back through the forest, chattering nervously about what they would find. She described Kestra's appearance in detail, explained about the purple blood and the makeshift first aid she had attempted. Her parents listened with growing amazement at their daughter's resourcefulness, even if they still doubted her dragon claims. She was left there to die, Emma said as they approached the clearing. I could tell. She was so scared and alone, but she trusted me. I promised I'd come back with help. They reached the spot where Emma had hidden Kestra, and for a moment Emma's heart stopped. The little dragon was so still that she feared the worst. But then she saw the slight rise and fall of breathing and nearly cried with relief. Kestra, Emma called softly. I'm back. I brought help. The small dragon lifted her head weakly and made a soft chirping sound when she saw Emma. Then her large eyes focused on the three adults, and she tried to back away despite her injuries. Dr. Chen's medical bag hit the ground with a thud. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. Ranger Fletcher simply stared, his jaw hanging open. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. Michael, are you seeing this? I'm seeing it, but I'm not sure I'm believing it. Dr. Chen replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He approached slowly, his medical instincts overriding his shock. Emma, sweetheart, stay back for a moment. Let me examine her. Kestra watched Dr. Chen approach with obvious fear, but when Emma spoke to her in soothing tones, the little dragon seemed to understand that this was the help she had promised. She remained still as the doctor knelt beside her, though her breathing quickened with anxiety. The leg is definitely shattered, Dr. Chen said, falling into his professional mode. Multiple fractures, possible nerve damage. The wound shows signs of infection, but it's not as advanced as I would have expected. Emma, what did you use to clean this? Stream water, Emma replied. And I tried to keep it still with my hoodie. Dr. Chen looked at his daughter with new respect. You may have saved her life with that quick thinking. The stabilization prevented further damage, and the cleaning has kept the infection manageable. Sarah was examining Kestra from a different angle, her biologist's mind cataloging every detail. The wing structure is unlike anything in the fossil record. The scales have an iridescent quality that suggests possible chromatophores. And the head shape? Michael, this isn't just a new species. This is evidence of evolution on an entirely different world. Ranger Fletcher had found his voice again. Folks, I need to call this in. We're way beyond Park Service jurisdiction here. Wait, Emma said quickly. What will they do to her? She's just a baby, and she's been hurt enough already. Dr. Chen was gently examining Kestra's broken leg, marveling at the trust the little dragon was showing despite her obvious fear. The bone structure is incredibly delicate, almost hollow like a bird's, but with different density patterns. Emma, can you talk to her? Keep her calm while I work? Emma knelt beside Kestra's head and began speaking in the soft, reassuring tone she had used earlier. To everyone's amazement, Kestra seemed to respond, making small musical sounds in return. They're actually communicating, Sarah observed in wonder. Emma, try to ask her about the pain. Point to different areas and see how she responds. For the next hour, the family worked together in an unprecedented interspecies medical consultation. Dr. Chen's expertise in trauma medicine, Sarah's knowledge of animal biology, and Emma's remarkable connection with Kestra combined to create an effective treatment plan. They discovered that Kestra was indeed dehydrated and weak from blood loss. Her species seemed to have a faster metabolism than Earth animals, which explained why she was declining so rapidly. Dr. Chen was able to clean and properly dress the wound using supplies from his camping first aid kit, while Sarah took detailed notes about Kestra's physiology. Most remarkably, they found that Kestra seemed to understand much more than they had initially realized. When Dr. Chen explained each step of his treatment to Emma, the little dragon would focus intently on his words, as if learning human language through context and repetition. Her species might be highly intelligent, Sarah speculated. Possibly more so than we are. Emma, I think she's been studying us while we've been studying her. As the sun began to set, they had stabilized Kestra's condition significantly. The question now was what to do next. The break was too complex for field treatment, requiring surgical intervention that was far beyond their camping capabilities. We need to get her to a proper medical facility, Dr. Chen said. But who would even know how to treat something like this? Emma looked up at her parents with fierce determination. Then we figure it out. We don't give up on her like her own people did. That's what makes us different, right? That's what makes us human. The three adults looked at Emma, then at Kestra, who was watching them with intelligent, hopeful eyes. In that moment, they all understood that they had stumbled into something far larger than a simple animal rescue. They had become the bridge between two species, and the choices they made in the coming hours would echo across both worlds. The next morning brought new challenges and unexpected help. Dr. Chen had spent most of the night monitoring Kestra's condition, while Emma slept curled up beside the little dragon, her hand gently resting on Kestra's neck. The bond between girl and dragon had grown even stronger, with Kestra seeming to find comfort in Emma's presence. Ranger Fletcher had made several careful phone calls, reaching out to contacts he trusted. By dawn, a small convoy of vehicles was making its way up the mountain road to their campsite. Leading the group was Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a veterinary surgeon who specialized in exotic animals and had worked with several government agencies on classified projects. Tom Fletcher has told me some pretty incredible things, Dr. Martinez said as she approached their makeshift medical station. But I have to admit, I wasn't prepared for this. Kestra had grown stronger overnight thanks to Dr. Chen's careful hydration therapy and Emma's constant companionship. She was alert enough to be curious about the new arrivals, though she stayed close to Emma for reassurance. Dr. Martinez knelt beside Kestra with professional calm, but Emma could see the wonder in her eyes. May I examine her? I promise I'll be very gentle. Emma looked at Kestra and spoke in the soft musical tone she had developed for communicating with the dragon. This is Dr. Martinez, Kestra. She's a doctor like my dad, but she helps animals. She wants to fix your leg so you can be strong again. To everyone's amazement, Kestra made a series of deliberate sounds in response, then extended her uninjured wing toward Dr. Martinez in what could only be interpreted as permission. Extraordinary, Dr. Martinez breathed. The level of intelligence and communication ability is beyond anything I've encountered. She began her examination with practiced skill, speaking aloud as she worked. The bone structure is unlike anything terrestrial, but the basic principles are similar enough that I think we can work with this. Behind Dr. Martinez came Dr. James Harrison, a xenobiologist from a government research facility that officially didn't exist. He had brought portable scanning equipment that could provide detailed images of Kestra's internal structure without causing additional trauma. With your permission, Dr. Harrison said to Emma, recognizing that the little dragon seemed to defer to the girl's judgment. I'd like to take some x-rays. This equipment is completely safe. It's actually less invasive than hospital x-rays. Emma translated as best she could, and Kestra seemed to understand. She remained perfectly still during the scanning process, watching the equipment with fascination rather than fear. The images that appeared on Dr. Harrison's portable screen drew gasps from everyone present. Kestra's bone structure was incredibly elegant, hollow like a bird's for flight but with internal lattice supports that made them stronger than human bones. The break in her leg showed the complex nature of the damage but also revealed something encouraging. Look at this. Dr. Martinez pointed to areas on the scan. Her species has remarkable regenerative capabilities. See these calcium deposits forming around the break? In a human, this would be the beginning of improper healing. But in her case, it looks like her body is trying to rebuild the entire bone structure from scratch. Dr. Chen leaned in to study the images. So if we can properly align the pieces and provide the right support, she might heal better than new, Dr. Martinez finished. But we need to act quickly. Her metabolism is so fast that if we don't intervene soon, the bone will set incorrectly and she'll never fly again. The mention of flying brought a visible response from Kestra. She chirped urgently and tried to extend her wings, but the effort was too painful. Emma quickly soothed her, but the little dragon's distress was obvious. Flying is everything to her species, isn't it? Emma said she'd rather die than be grounded forever. Dr. Harrison nodded gravely. From what we can determine, yes. Their entire social structure, their sense of identity, even their basic survival skills are built around flight. A dragon who can't fly would be completely helpless in their natural environment. This revelation added urgency to their efforts. Dr. Martinez began preparing for what would be the most unusual surgery of her career. She had brought a portable surgical unit, but operating on an alien species required improvisation and careful observation of Kestra's responses to different medications and procedures. The first challenge was anesthesia. Earth-based drugs might be toxic to Kestra's alien physiology, or they might not work at all. Dr. Martinez started with tiny test doses, monitoring Kestra's vital signs carefully. Emma stayed by the dragon's side throughout the process, providing comfort and communication. Remarkably, Kestra seemed to understand what was happening. When Dr. Martinez explained each step to Emma, the little dragon would focus intently on the words as if memorizing them. She even began to mimic some of the medical terms, her pronunciation improving with each attempt. "She's learning our language in real time," Dr. Harrison observed. "The rate of linguistic acquisition is phenomenal. She might be smarter than all of us combined." The surgery itself was a delicate dance between human medical knowledge and alien biology. Dr. Martinez worked with instruments designed for Earth animals, adapting her techniques to accommodate Kestra's unique anatomy. Emma maintained a constant stream of encouraging words, and Kestra remained surprisingly calm throughout the procedure. The most critical moment came when Dr. Martinez had to realign the major bone fragments. Kestra's natural healing had already begun, and some of the calcification had to be carefully removed before proper alignment could be achieved. The little dragon's body responded well to the treatment, her fast metabolism actually working in their favor by accelerating the healing process. 6 hours later, Dr. Martinez stepped back from her work with exhaustion and satisfaction evident on her face. "I've never seen anything like it," she said. Her body started responding to the surgical repair immediately. "Look at these new scans." The images showed Kestra's bone already beginning to knit together in perfect alignment. The internal lattice structure was rebuilding itself with mechanical precision that seemed almost too perfect to be biological. "How long until she can fly again?" Emma asked anxiously. Dr. Martinez smiled. "If her healing continues at this rate and if she responds well to physical therapy, she might be testing her wings in a few weeks. But Emma, she's going to need constant care during recovery, someone who understands her needs and can communicate with her." Emma looked at her parents hopefully. Dr. Chen and Sarah had been watching the entire process with growing amazement, not just at Kestra's remarkable physiology, but at their daughter's natural ability to connect with an alien intelligence. "We can't exactly take her to a regular veterinary clinic for follow-up care," Sarah said thoughtfully. "And she's clearly bonded with Emma in a way that's beneficial to her recovery." Dr. Harrison cleared his throat. "There are facilities where she could receive proper care. Government research stations with the resources to study her species while ensuring her well-being." "No," Emma said firmly. "She's not going to be someone's lab rat. She's been abandoned once already. If she needs care, then we'll figure out how to give it to her ourselves." Kestra, who had been listening to the conversation despite her post-surgical grogginess, made a soft sound and reached for Emma's hand with her wing. The gesture was unmistakably one of trust and affection. Dr. Martinez looked at the girl and dragon, then at the parents who had raised such a remarkable child. "You know what? I think Emma's right. Sometimes the best medicine isn't found in the most advanced facilities. Sometimes it's found in the simplest thing of all, someone who cares enough to never give up." As the sun set on their second day together, Kestra was stable, healing rapidly and surrounded by humans who had committed themselves to her recovery. For the first time since her injury, she had hope that she might fly again, and for the first time in her young life she understood what it meant to be part of a family that would never abandon her. 3 weeks later, the Chen family's backyard had been transformed into something that looked like a cross between a veterinary hospital and a dragon sanctuary. Dr. Martinez visited daily, bringing specialized equipment and monitoring Kestra's remarkable recovery. The little dragon had grown noticeably stronger, her scales regaining their lustrous shine, and her eyes bright with intelligence and curiosity. Emma had become Kestra's constant companion, and unofficial translator. The dragon's grasp of human language had progressed at an astounding rate. She could now understand complex sentences and respond with a combination of her own musical language and increasingly clear attempts at English words. "Good morning, Kestra," Emma said as she brought the dragon's breakfast, a carefully prepared mixture of fish, small birds, and the vitamin supplements Dr. Martinez had prescribed. "How is your leg feeling today?" "Leg. Better?" Kestra replied, her voice still musical but the words clearly recognizable. "Stronger today. Want to try walking?" Emma finished, smiling at her friend's determination. "Dr. Martinez said we could try some gentle movement today if you're feeling up to it." Kestra's eyes lit up with excitement. Over the past weeks, she had been forced to remain mostly stationary while her bones healed. The inactivity had been torture for a creature designed for flight, but she had endured it with remarkable patience, trusting in Emma's promise that she would fly again. Dr. Chen emerged from the house carrying his morning coffee and the latest X-rays from yesterday's session. "The bone fusion is absolutely incredible," he announced. "Not only has it healed completely, but it's actually stronger than it was before the break. Her species' regenerative abilities are beyond anything we've seen in terrestrial biology." Sarah joined them, carrying her laptop and a thick folder of notes. She had been documenting every aspect of Kestra's recovery, turning their backyard rehabilitation into the most comprehensive study of extraterrestrial biology ever conducted. "I've been analyzing the mineral composition of her new bone growth," she said. "She's somehow incorporating calcium compounds from our Earth diet and converting them into something stronger and lighter than her original bone structure." Kestra listened intently to the conversation, her head tilting in concentration as she parsed the scientific terminology. "Bone stronger now?" she asked, the words coming more easily each day. "Much stronger," Emma confirmed, "which means today we get to see if you can stand up." The physical therapy sessions had become group efforts. Dr. Martinez provided medical oversight. Dr. Chen monitored Kestra's vital signs. Sarah documented every response, and Emma served as communication bridge and emotional support. But it was clear to everyone that the real driving force behind Kestra's recovery was her own fierce determination to return to the sky. They started slowly, with Kestra simply shifting her weight and testing the strength of her injured leg. The bone held firm, showing no signs of pain or weakness. Encouraged, she attempted to rise to a sitting position, then gradually worked her way to standing on all four legs. "Perfect balance," Dr. Martinez observed. "No favoring of the injured limb at all." "Kestra, how does it feel?" "Feels good," Kestra replied, taking a tentative step forward. "Feels like me again." Emma blinked back tears of joy as she watched her friend take her first step since the injury, but she could see that Kestra's eyes kept drifting upward to the sky, where birds soared freely overhead. "Wings next?" Kestra asked hopefully. Dr. Martinez smiled but shook her head gently. "Not yet, little one. We need to make sure your leg can handle normal movement before we add the stress of flight preparations, but soon." Over the following days, Kestra's mobility improved dramatically. She progressed from cautious steps to confident walking, then to playful running around the yard. Her joy was infectious, and the Chen family found themselves laughing and celebrating each milestone as if it were their own achievement. More importantly, Kestra began to share stories of her own world. Her language skills had progressed to the point where she could describe complex concepts, and Emma spent hours listening to tales of vast cities that floated in the clouds, of dragon clans that danced among the stars, and of a culture built entirely around the freedom of flight. "My people, they fear weakness," Kestra explained one evening as they sat together watching the sunset. "Weakness means death in the void between worlds. But here, you made weakness into strength. You made broken into better." Emma stroked Kestra's neck gently. "That's what families do. They don't give up on each other." "Family," Kestra repeated, testing the word. "Emma's family. My family now?" "If you want it to be," Emma replied. "Families aren't just about where you come from. They're about who cares about you and who you care about." Kestra was quiet for a long moment, processing this concept that was foreign to her species' way of thinking. "My birth clan left me to die. But Emma family made me live, made me more than before." The breakthrough moment came on a Tuesday morning when Dr. Martinez declared Kestra ready for flight preparation exercises. They had set up a series of platforms of increasing height in the backyard, allowing Kestra to practice short glides and build up her flight muscles gradually. Kestra approached the first platform with visible excitement and nervousness. She had been grounded for over a month, an eternity for a creature whose species lived in 3 dimensions. Her wings trembled as she spread them wide for the first time since her rescue. "Take your time," Emma encouraged. There's no rush, but Kestra was ready. With a powerful leap and a graceful sweep of her wings, she launched herself from the platform and glided smoothly to the ground. The landing was perfect, her rebuilt leg absorbing the impact without any sign of weakness. The cheer that went up from the Chen family was so loud that neighbors came out to see what the celebration was about. They had concocted a cover story about rehabilitating an exotic bird, and most people were content not to look too closely at the bird that seemed unusually intelligent and occasionally spoke in English. "Again," Kestra called out, already scrambling back up to the platform. "Higher!" They spent the entire day progressing through increasingly challenging flight exercises. By evening, Kestra was performing aerial maneuvers that left no doubt about her complete recovery. She could hover, dive, turn on a wingtip, and land with precision that exceeded her pre-injury abilities. But the most remarkable moment came as the sun was setting. Kestra had been practicing longer flights around the neighborhood, always returning to the Chen's backyard where Emma waited. On her final approach of the day, instead of landing immediately, she performed an elaborate aerial dance, loops and spirals and graceful figures that painted poetry across the evening sky. "She's celebrating," Sarah breathed in wonder. "She's dancing her joy." When Kestra finally landed, she walked directly to Emma and nuzzled against her with deep affection. "Emma gave me wings again," she said. "Emma gave me sky again. How does Kestra say thank you for everything?" Emma hugged her friend gently, feeling the strong, steady heartbeat beneath the warm scales. "You don't need to say thank you, Kestra. Seeing you fly again is all the thanks any of us need." As they stood together in the gathering twilight, none of them realized that far above the atmosphere, Zilithian scouts had detected the energy signature of one of their lost younglings. The abandonment that had brought them together was about to be discovered, and the consequences would test everything they had built together. But for now, in this perfect moment, there was only joy in the knowledge that love and determination had accomplished what an entire advanced civilization had deemed impossible. They had not just healed Kestra's body. They had given her something her own species had never offered, a family that would never give up on her. The Zilithian reconnaissance ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system on a routine patrol, its sophisticated sensors sweeping for any sign of their lost scout vessel. What they detected instead sent shockwaves through the command deck. "Impossible," breathed Navigator Threnthak as he stared at his readings. "That's Kestra's biosignature, but it can't be. We left her to die 6 weeks ago." Commander Vorthak, the same elder who had ordered Kestra's abandonment, leaned over the sensor array with disbelief evident in his scaled features. "The signal is strong and active, but how? Her injuries were beyond healing. Her future was void." "Commander," came the voice of their xenobiologist, "the readings indicate not just survival, but improvement. Her bone density is actually higher than our baseline measurements. Her energy patterns suggest complete recovery." The ship's sensors continued their analysis as they approached Earth's orbit. What they found challenged everything the Zilithians believed about survival, weakness, and the natural order of their harsh universe. On Earth, the Chen family was enjoying a peaceful Saturday morning. Kestra had become a beloved member of their household, spending her days exploring the countryside and her evenings sharing stories of distant worlds. She had grown larger and stronger, her wingspan now impressive enough that she had to be careful when landing in their backyard. Emma was teaching Kestra to read, using children's books to help expand her vocabulary. The dragon had proven to have an incredible memory and was already working through texts that would challenge human teenagers. "The brave knight saved the dragon," Kestra read aloud, then looked at Emma with amusement. "Humans have strange stories. Why does dragon need saving? Dragons are strong." "Not all dragons are as strong as you," Emma replied, "and sometimes even strong things need help. That's why people take care of each other." Kestra was about to respond when she suddenly froze, her head snapping upward toward the sky. Her scales rippled with colors Emma had never seen before, deep purples and electric blues that seemed to pulse with alarm. "What is it?" Emma asked, following Kestra's gaze. "My people," Kestra whispered, her voice tight with fear. "They come. I can feel their minds touching the edges of mine." High above, invisible to human eyes, the Zilithian ship had entered Earth's atmosphere. The crew was struggling to understand what they were seeing through their long-range scanners. "She's living among the indigenous species," reported the ship's cultural analyst. "The humans appear to be caring for her." "Preposterous," Elder Vorthak declared. "These primitives lack the technology or knowledge to treat Zilithian physiology. What we're seeing must be some form of parasitic relationship." But as they observed longer, the evidence became undeniable. They watched Kestra flying with skill that exceeded her pre-injury abilities. They saw her interacting peacefully with the human family, saw the obvious affection and communication between species that shouldn't have been possible. "The little human female," observed Navigator Threnthak. "She seems to be teaching Kestra, and Kestra is learning their primitive language." "Order an immediate extraction," Vorthak commanded. "Whatever these creatures have done to manipulate our youngling, we will reverse it. Kestra belongs with her own kind." The transport ship descended toward the Chen property with the swift efficiency typical of Zilithian operations. Emma felt the air pressure change and heard a strange humming sound growing louder. Kestra cowered against her, trembling with fear. "They will take me away," Kestra said, her English now perfect despite her distress. "They will say I am contaminated by human weakness. They will make me forget you." "No," Emma said fiercely, putting her arms around her friend. "I won't let them. You're not weak and you're not contaminated. Your family." Dr. Chen and Sarah came running from the house as the alien ship materialized above their yard. The vessel was beautiful and terrifying, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, hovering silently 20 feet above the ground. 3 Zilithians descended on platforms of manipulated gravity. Elder Vorthak led them, his imposing presence making it clear that he was accustomed to absolute authority. His eyes found Kestra immediately, and his expression mixed relief with deep disapproval. "Youngling," he said, his words somehow translating directly into their minds. "You live. This is unexpected. Come. We will return you to your people and cleanse you of whatever influence these primitives have exercised." Kestra pressed closer to Emma, but lifted her head to meet Vorthak's gaze. When she spoke, it was in the melodious Zilithian language, but Emma could somehow understand her words through their deep connection. "I will not come," Kestra said clearly. "These primitives gave me what my own people could not: hope when I had none, healing when I was broken, and love when I was abandoned." The elder's mental voice carried shock and outrage. "You dare speak to me with such disrespect? You forget your place, youngling." "My place is here," Kestra replied, standing now to her full height beside Emma, "with the family that chose to save me instead of leaving me to die." Dr. Chen stepped forward, his medical training overriding his fear. "Your people abandoned an injured child. We found her dying and chose to help. That's not primitive. That's civilized." Elder Vorthak turned his attention to the humans for the first time, studying them with the air of a scientist examining interesting bacteria. "You cannot comprehend what you interfere with, primitive. The weak must be culled so the strong survive. This is the law of nature, the way of the universe." "That's where you're wrong," Emma said, her young voice carrying surprising strength. "The way of the universe isn't about the strong surviving alone. It's about the strong helping the weak become stronger. That's how species grow and learn and become better than they were." Sarah joined her daughter, adding her scientific perspective. "We've observed Kestra's recovery. Your species' abandonment protocol actually prevented her from reaching her full potential. The healing process we facilitated has made her stronger than she ever would have been otherwise." Navigator Threnthak had been silently scanning Kestra throughout the confrontation, and his findings clearly disturbed him. "Elder," he said quietly, "the human is correct. Kestra's current physical parameters exceed optimal Zilithian standards. Her bone density, muscle development, neural activity, all are enhanced beyond our normal ranges. How is this possible?" Vorthak demanded. Dr. Martinez chose that moment to arrive for her daily check on Kestra, accompanied by Dr. Harrison and several other researchers who had been monitoring the situation. They had detected the alien ship's arrival and come prepared for this moment. It's possible because healing isn't just about fixing what's broken, Dr. Martinez explained. It's about providing the care and support necessary for growth beyond the original limitations. Kestra didn't just recover, she evolved. Kestra stepped forward, positioning herself protectively between the Zilithians and the humans. My birth clan saw broken bones and declared me worthless. Emma family saw broken bones and saw potential. They gave me not just healed legs, but understanding of what strength really means. Strength means the ability to fly alone through the void, Elder Vorthak insisted, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. No, Kestra replied. Strength means knowing you don't have to fly alone. Strength means having people who will catch you when you fall and teach you to soar higher than you ever dreamed possible. The confrontation had drawn the attention of every being present to a fundamental question about the nature of civilization itself. The Zilithians, for all their advanced technology and star-spanning empire, had built their society on the principle of abandoning the weak. The humans, with their comparatively primitive technology, had built theirs on the principle of protecting and nurturing those who needed help. As the two philosophies faced each other in the Chen family backyard, it became clear that this moment would change both species forever. The question was no longer whether Kestra would return with her people, but whether either species would ever be the same after learning what the other had to offer. The silence that followed Kestra's declaration stretched across the backyard like the space between stars. Elder Vorthak stared at the young dragon who had once been deemed worthless, now standing tall and defiant beside the human child who had saved her life. For the first time in his long existence, the elder found himself questioning principles that had guided his species for millennia. You speak of strength, he said slowly, his mental voice thoughtful rather than commanding. But strength without purpose is merely survival. What purpose do these humans serve in your life beyond temporary comfort? Kestra's scales shimmered with confident colors as she prepared her response. They taught me that weakness is not a destination, it is a starting point. When my bones were shattered, Emma didn't see a broken dragon. She saw potential. When I couldn't fly, Dr. Chen didn't see failure. He saw a puzzle to solve. When I was abandoned, this family didn't see burden. They saw someone worth saving. Navigator Threnthak had been quietly studying the humans throughout the confrontation, his scientific mind analyzing everything he observed. Elder, he said, his thoughts carefully shielded from the others. Their social structure is fascinating. They invest enormous resources in members who contribute nothing to immediate survival. The elderly, the injured, the young. Yet this investment creates bonds that make their society stronger, not weaker. Dr. Harrison stepped forward, recognizing that this was a critical moment for both species. Commander Vorthak, may I show you something? He held up a tablet displaying detailed medical scans. These are Kestra's bone structures before and after her healing. The fracture lines are still visible, but notice how the healing process created reinforcement patterns that are actually superior to the original design. The elder examined the data with growing amazement. His own species' medical technology could have fixed the breaks, but it never would have achieved this level of improvement. How is this possible with your primitive methods? Because we didn't just fix the break, Emma said, stepping forward with the fearlessness of a child who had never learned that some battles couldn't be won. We fixed the whole dragon. We didn't just give her back her old life, we gave her a new one. Sarah opened her laptop and began displaying weeks of documentation. We've recorded not just physical healing, but cognitive enhancement, emotional development, and social adaptation that far exceeds her species' baseline. Kestra has become more than she was designed to be because she was given the support to grow beyond her original limitations, Elder. Vorthak studied the data with the intensity of someone watching their worldview crumble and rebuild itself. In our culture, the injured are abandoned to preserve resources for the strong. It is efficient. It ensures survival. But survival isn't living, Dr. Chen said gently. Kestra didn't just survive her injuries, she transcended them. She didn't just recover her abilities, she discovered new ones. That's the difference between existing and thriving. Kestra moved to stand beside Emma, her wing gently covering the girl's shoulders. Elder Vorthak, you taught me that dragons must fly alone to be strong. But Emma taught me that dragons who fly together can reach the stars. The elder was quiet for a long moment, his ancient mind wrestling with concepts that challenged everything he had believed. Finally, he looked directly at Emma. "Young human, you are barely past your species' infant stage, yet you accomplished what our most advanced healers declared impossible. How?" Emma looked up at the imposing alien leader with the same determined expression she had worn when she first found Kestra dying in the forest. "Because I didn't know it was impossible. I just knew it was necessary." Navigator Threnthak made a sound that might have been laughter. "Elder, perhaps our definition of primitive requires revision. A species that can turn weakness into strength, that can heal not just bodies but spirits, that can create family bonds across evolutionary lines. This is not primitive. This is advanced beyond our understanding." Elder Vorthak turned to his crew, his mental voice carrying new authority. "Cancel the extraction order. We have much to learn here." "Elder," Navigator Threnthak questioned, surprised by this unprecedented decision. "For 10,000 years we have built our civilization on the principle of abandoning the weak," Vorthak explained. "We have survived, yes, but have we grown? Have we become more than we were? These humans have shown us something we lost long ago, the strength that comes from lifting others up instead of leaving them behind." Kestra's joy was evident in the brilliant display of colors that rippled across her scales. "Does this mean—" "It means," Elder Vorthak said, his tone gentle for the first time since his arrival, "that you have found something we didn't know we were missing, and perhaps it is time for our people to learn what these humans have to teach." Dr. Martinez, who had been observing the proceedings with professional fascination, stepped forward. "Commander, if your people are interested in learning our medical and rehabilitation techniques, we would be honored to share them. Knowledge should benefit everyone, regardless of species. And," Sarah added, "we would be fascinated to learn about your advanced technologies and scientific methods. Imagine what we could accomplish together." Over the following hours, an unprecedented interspecies dialogue began. The Zilithians shared their advanced understanding of physics and space travel, while the humans demonstrated their approaches to medicine, psychology, and social cooperation. They discovered that both species had strengths the other lacked, and that together they could achieve things neither could accomplish alone. Emma and Kestra sat together under the old oak tree where their friendship had begun, watching their families, biological and chosen, work together to plan a future that neither species had imagined possible. "Are you happy, Kestra?" Emma asked. "Your real family came back for you." Kestra nuzzled against her human sister with deep affection. "My birth clan came back," she corrected gently. "But my real family has been here all along. You didn't just heal my broken bones, Emma. You taught me what it means to be whole." Elder Vorthak, overhearing their conversation, approached the two friends. "Youngling, Kestra, I owe you an apology that spans the void between worlds. We abandoned you when you needed us most. We declared you weak when you possessed a strength we couldn't recognize. You did what you thought was right according to your laws." Kestra replied with wisdom beyond her years. "But Emma's family showed me that laws should serve love, not the other way around." The elder knelt beside the girl and dragon, his ancient eyes bright with new understanding. "Young Emma, your species calls this humanity, do they not? This quality of caring for others despite the cost to yourselves?" Emma nodded, not quite understanding why the word seemed so important to him. "Then perhaps," Elder Vorthak said, "it is time for the Zilithians to learn humanity. Not your species name, but your species' greatest gift. The knowledge that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from ensuring that no one has to." As the sun set on that remarkable day, two species began a friendship that would reshape the galaxy. The Zilithians would return to their people with new knowledge about the power of compassion and cooperation. Some would resist these ideas, but others would embrace them, leading to the first Zilithian rehabilitation centers and care facilities in their civilization's history. Emma and Kestra would remain together, two sisters from different worlds who had taught an entire species that the greatest strength isn't the ability to survive alone in the darkness. It's the courage to bring light to others who have lost their way in a universe that often seemed cold and uncaring. Their friendship became proof that love, determination, and the simple decision to help someone in need could change not just individual lives, but the course of civilizations. The little girl who couldn't walk past a suffering creature, and the baby dragon who learned that broken wings could heal stronger than before, had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. not in species but in spirit.